Hey, thanks for your question. It's a really good question. And if you're just excited to get to my opinion on it, you can kind of fast forward to the end of this video because I want to give a little bit of context first. First of all, there are other creators far smarter and more knowledgeable than me that have answered this question already. You may want to check them out. I particularly recommend Dan McClellan. That said, let's talk about it. So first of all, there's a distinction I want to make because a lot of people don't understand this. There are both translations of the Bible that are out there as well as what we call paraphrases. Paraphrases are a little bit different. They're not just trying to translate it from one language into English. They're actually trying to paraphrase it into a way that's more understandable, perhaps more relatable, and that is a little easier to read for folks. So like a good example, when I was growing up, the paraphrase everybody loved was the Good News Bible. Nowadays, there's things like the Message and things like that. These are fine if you just kind of want to read through the Bible. They are not great if you are looking to study or teach. While I will admit there is interpretation involved in any translation of the Bible, paraphrases are a lot more interpretive and bring a lot more of the author's, the translator's viewpoint and biases to the fore. So if you want to study, get a translation, not a paraphrase. That said, there are a lot of different English paraphrases, and those are somewhat interpretive as well. So one of the things I highly recommend is that when you're looking for a Bible to use, read up on the Bible itself, that translation itself. Many of them will have introductory statements or essays or things like that that describe their philosophy in translating the Bible and why they chose to translate certain things the way they did. If you read those things, and it could be a bit of a dry read, but if you really care and you read those things, you will have a better idea of what to expect from that translation. That said, I will give you my opinion, and my opinion is this. First of all, I would absolutely avoid the King James Version. The King James Version was already considered antiquated language at the time that it was written. It is just not easy to understand, nor does it take advantage of the most recent scholarship when it comes to textual criticism and translation and all of those things. So unless you really just enjoy reading it because of the kind of the poetic language of it, I would not use the King James Version. So the current version that I've been using lately is the updated NRSV, the New Revised Standard Version. I am doing this based on the recommendation of Dan McClellan, a well-known Bible scholar, smart guy. And so I recently got, now granted it doesn't have the updated version, but I recently got the new Oxford Annotated Bible. I've been using that some, and then of course the updated version from online sources. Before that, I used the ESV, the English Standard Version, a lot. To be honest, I did not like that. First of all, it's considered to be a little more word-for-word translation, but to be honest, rather than helping it, that just makes it really clunky and kind of hard to read in some places. Plus, it is openly a very conservative translation, which isn't, conservatism might not be bad in of itself, but I would rather get to the actual meaning of the text rather than someone's interpretation of it. And they kind of openly admit that they went with a more conservative interpretation when they could or when they thought it was important. Before that, I used the NIV, the New International Version. I really loved it when it first came out in like 1984 or whatever. They have updated it a lot. Since then, I don't like it as much today. It would still probably be my second choice though. Regardless, any modern English translation is not going to steer you too far wrong, especially if you follow this one simple piece of advice. Anytime you find yourself really hanging a lot of meaning or importance on one little passage, or in particular, one word of a Bible verse, dig a little deeper. do a little bit of a word study. Never just go straight by what the translation says. You'll find a lot of times it may be totally accurate, but also there may be some nuances there that you missed. So I hope that helped, and sorry if things are a little shaky today. The battery died on my gimbal, so I'm holding this, but so it might be a little wobbly. Anyway, thanks, and hopefully I'll see you in my other stuff.